This woman plays really, really dirty. I'm concerned. You've heard the heinous allegations, right? We get the Hitler thing. You get the trying to poison him with the Jewish population in America, poison him with the Hispanic population. Good luck. I mean, overwhelmingly now Hispanics are siding with Donald Trump, and that's what's contributing to the upside in the Arizona numbers. And they're trying to poison him with women, the latest and greatest being this story that came out from, 1993, somehow associating him with a model that was associated with Epstein, blah, 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 blah. I mean, they're scraping the bottom of the barrel. I mean, because I'm like, haven't we heard, variations on all this stuff before? I don't know if it's really going to do you any good at this moment in time, Kamala Harris, but they're trying to dig up anything they can. And then my concern is this, and I played it for David earlier, and he's like, yeah, it should be a concern, but I'm going to play it for you because I'm curious. What do you guys think? I mean, she's talking about November, we're going to deal with November. What do you mean by that, lady?
Because some people find it humorous what he says. And think it's just silly, but understand how brutally serious it is. Well, the courts will take care of that. We'll take care of November. Yeah.
Somebody said lock him up. She says the courts will take care of that. We'll take care of November. And then she laughs.
We'll take care of November. But
excuse me? You're going to take care of November? I'm sorry, I don't follow. I really don't. Maybe we're taking her out of context, but I think we ought to think about that and then think about it in light of what she also said to MSNBC. Here we go.
We are sitting here 2 weeks away from election night. Last election, the former president came out on election night and declared victory before all the votes were counted. What is your plan if he does that again in 2 weeks?
Well, let me say this. We've got 2 weeks to go, and I'm very much grounded in the present in terms of the task at hand, and we will deal with election night and the days after as they come, and we have the resources and the expertise and the focus on that as well.
So you have teams ready to go? Is that what you're saying? Are you thinking about that as a possibility?
Of course. This is a person, Donald Trump, who tried to undo a free and fair election, who still denies the will of the people, who incited a violent mob to attack the United States Capitol, and 140 law enforcement officers were attacked. Some were killed. This is a serious matter. The American people are, at this point, 2 weeks out, being presented with a very, very serious decision about what will be the future of our country.
And she wants it to be her, okay? And this election is so important because, they're going to destroy democracy, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to do everything they can in the process to make sure I mean, this woman plays dirty. Really, really dirty. Think about what they're dredging up, right? With the John Kelly stuff. This came up again on CNN. I'll play it for you.
A feeling that there are a number of voters who are hearing so many things about Trump. They're hearing the claims, they're hearing the statements, they're hearing about members of the cabinet saying no can do, no will do again. And then you hear Trump's campaign saying this is false. President Trump never said any of this. I mean, Trump, though, tonight praised authoritarian leaders, China's Xi, Russia's Putin. Listen to this.
Can you imagine what President Xi, I got to know him very well. He's a fierce individual. He runs 1.4 billion people with an iron fist. Am I allowed to say he's smart? He's smart. He's a smart man. He's a fierce man. I get along with him very well. Putin, these are people that are tough people.
I mean, many people have an issue with appraising of any kind of either of these two leaders.
I'm sorry. There's really nothing wrong with saying that. He's making the point that, they're on one level, and unless you're on that level and are trying to, play chess instead of checkers, you're running some serious risks. And let's face it, Kamala Harris, who didn't pass the bar exam, is not playing on that level. Here we go.
Does the fact that he appears to have a strong affinity for those who are authoritarians in the leadership is that deniable at this point?
Well, in the clip you showed, he didn't praise them. He just called G smart, which is the only praise he gave them.
Well, it's
but
not an insult.
It's not, okay, well, it's not, but it's not praise either, which is what you said it was, which it wasn't. But according to the Jeffrey Goldberg article, which we talked about this entire night, you can't trust that article because the quote, 60,000 for an effing Mexican funeral, the only two on-record sources both said that he didn't say that. The only source is an anonymous source, and the family of the deceased soldier said that he was lovely to them, and in fact, they voted for Donald Trump today. That's how much they disagreed, and they said it was a disrespectful article that politicized the death of their loved one. And Jeffrey Goldberg did not care about printing something that they had no sources on the record for. And I, honest to God, like most Americans, do not care about General Kelly's farewell tour where he tries to make amends for working for Donald Trump, since Democrats said we're going to run all these Republicans who work for Trump out of town unless they somehow make peace. So 2 weeks before Election Day, he runs to liberal journalist Susan Glasser about a conversation that allegedly happened 4 years ago. It doesn't pass a smell test. And that is why people are turned off to all of these stories. They remember Donald Trump's presidency for low inflation, jobs, peace through strength, controlled borders. That's why they care. No one believes Jeffrey Goldberg and the article from a publication that's owned by one of Harris's donors.
Right. Well said. Well said. I mean, look, the problem is these journalists are always getting spun. And you have to be kind of on your toes to make sure. But I think that Goldberg, in his case at The Atlantic, he wanted to be spun. Like, he's looking for the goods. This is something that Halpern brought up the other day. A friend of mine, Mark Halpern, political analyst, who's pretty much a straight shooter, is saying, look, he got pitched some pretty bad stories. One of them, I don't know, it could have been the Epstein story that's circulating right now. It could have been this, but he's making the point that there's stuff out there because they're trying to dig up dirt. Kamala's playing dirty. Listen.
And the point I was making is there's all sorts of things being floated out there. Maybe Jeffrey Goldberg just happened to finish the story 2 weeks before the election. I'm sure Sean will have a point of view about that. I know of one story that's been pitched to a major newspaper and to me, and for all I know to many others, that I don't believe is true. But if it's true, as I said yesterday, it would end Donald Trump's campaign. Just as if the accusations now thoroughly debunked and attributed by American intelligence to Russia about Tim Walz, if those were true, it would end his campaign. What we're seeing in the final days, is a point I was making, is actors who want a certain outcome are on social media and in pitches to reporters, and in the case of The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg writing himself, are trying to affect the end of the race because they're so desperate to try to pull a Comey. I'm not pursuing the story. I don't think it's true. People in Mar-a-Lago, calm down. All I'm saying is there are people out there pitching stuff. And if it were true, it would end his campaign. But if someone pitched me a story that said Trump is a Martian, that might not end his campaign. People might, you get my point.
Yeah, we get the point. In other words, they use reporters. They're using journalists to try and do hit jobs on them. It's just that, like, at some point, it's like, guys, you know what? You've been doing it, and you've been doing it, you've been doing it. We've got all the hits. I mean, for goodness sakes, there were people that even tried to take his life. I mean, America is at this point, I think, pretty much over it.